What is up, everybody? So, I had posted a video literally, I think, 2 days ago, which is how I scalp COVID-19. Basically, it's a catchy title for how I scalp these ultra-thin markets. So, the particular strategy I was using in that is no longer starting to work. And the strategy I use is basically just these pivot plays. And I use only one strategy in that particular video, and it is one of the best days I've ever had. Not monetarily, but monetarily it was really good. Just one of the best days I've ever had as far as just taking really good entries and not having the trades go against me that much. I definitely suggest watching that, but keep in mind the strategy in there is no longer starting to work. For the last 2 days, the market has been recovering and bouncing. I don't know where this is going to go long term, but from a scalping perspective, things are a little different. And that's what this video is about. When things start to change, your strategies have to change. What strategy may have worked a month ago is no longer going to work now, but it might start working again. And you just have to realize that when market conditions change, so do your strategies, and you have to adapt and you have to figure it out. That's what makes trading so hard. One thing's never going to continue to always work. So things are a little different. Those pivot plays don't really work that well. They do work, and I'll show you one working in this particular day, but more so they work. I'm not sure if they work in the morning. I'm sure they might. I haven't tested that theory. I've been trading a lot of the afternoon sessions. But at the end of the day, the last 10 minutes, those pivot plays, like I do in this particular video, start to work again. However, throughout most of the day, they don't work. You'll notice that when there's a major pivot that's about to be broken, it might have a really huge retracement, or it might go through by a tick or two and then pull back. And a lot of that particular movement you're seeing that I'm about to show you is it's very similar to how the market's traded in normal conditions. So I'm seeing a lot of movement that looks like normal conditions. So the market is thin still. However, there's a lot more size coming in, manipulating the market. There was a point where the size would come in and it would get instantly filled, or might bounce the market once and then get filled. That's because people were panicking getting out, and wherever there was liquidity, they would just take it. Now, size is starting to manipulate and change the market. A lot of buyers are starting to come in because there was a complete lack of buyers during this whole meltdown. Now you have a lot more buyers stepping up, and you can really feel the confidence. However, you're still having your sellers defend certain levels. So a lot of the trading that's happening is like it was when it was normal, just thin, which I like this. I like this normality. I mean, I like this video because it was really easy to trade that day. I do like that, but I do enjoy the thinking aspect of it, because now you have to start to reconnect with order flow. And I don't really talk much about order flow in that video because you really didn't need it too much. You kind of did, but now it's starting to get important again. So that's why I'm making this video, is to show you that what's in that video is not going to work. Now, if the market starts to melt down again, it can start working again, but it'll work at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and get in the first trade, which I drew some arrows for you guys to show you kind of where I scalp. So this first one is right here. Again, I'm getting at the base of this arrow. So if we just make it a little bigger here. Just a second. So right here is where I get in, right here. So let's kind of look at it from this perspective. So I get in at 34.75. So you can see how I have this order resting. Why do I have an order resting here? Well, unfortunately, I can't see the volume profile, and the volume profile on this DOM doesn't look as good as it needs to because the market's still pretty overstretched as far as the ranges go. It covers several points per day, unlike normal conditions. So I can't see the profile on my CR charts because it resets at the end of the day. However, you have this. I want to say I'm getting long. Why am I getting long on this one? Probably helps if I knew why. I believe it's because we bounced right under this point of control, which I did mark. So the thing is, these pivots work at point of controls. In that other video, the pivot play worked pretty much anywhere. Now you more so want to see them work on a point of control. And you'll see it go against me 6 ticks. So this is going to be a prime example of how it doesn't just shoot through like in that previous video, assuming you watched it. So I got all this size behind me, which when it's stacked in threes like that and it's not too terribly thick, generally it might just blow through. Get the fill, it instantly goes against me. So if you look at where it pivoted previously, it previously pivoted it at that 35, which is right here. So it's double testing right there. And there it goes. Theoretically, I should have got in at 35, but I was kind of looking at the aspect of the point of control. So two things are happening here. First and foremost, there was really a good pivot right here, and it actually worked really well. But at the same time, we have this point of control here, and I was sort of looking at a smaller aspect of it. So here it's working, and you can see I'm front running some size. So I'm starting to queue out now. Usually I would just hit the flat key. You'll see me in some trades hit the flat key to get out. There's a fill. I think it continues to run up, actually. Yeah, it's another nice little push, but that's it. Does it pull back in on us? Might do a butterfly. Well, look at this 400 up here. So you can see that 400 held it down. And we're just kind of watching what happens up here. So you're having size come in like that, and look, it actually influences the market, and then it blows through it. But you can see how it actually influences the market at this point. Like the size usually would bounce off if it come back and blow through it. But now things are changing. There's a lot of more of this normal pace to it. These moves are not as volatile as they've been. It's more tame. You don't have price just flying everywhere. Now, you still have good movements because the market's thin, but yeah. Anyways, let's go to the next trade, which is way up here. This base of this green arrow, which I know you can't really tell what's going on. So let's see why I took that one. Some of these trades, again, a lot of these trades aren't going to make sense on a bar chart. Okay, so this next trade is at 50 even. So this particular level, this 50 even, there was actually a lot of unusual activity happening here, especially later in the day, and I want to show that to you. So we do get through it, but notice how the market starts to stop and stay kind of below it right here, and it starts to bounce off of it. This vertical or horizontal white line is 50 even. There's a lot of large sellers stepping up at that point. So this particular area is actually being heavily defended by sellers, and buyers were so aggressive to try to get through it. And you saw it more so around this point before the market just craps out. And I actually take a short right in here. Actually, where this pivot is, I take a short. Let me see what time that is, because I might show that one to you. It's at 43. Give me just a moment here. I have one at 42. Actually, that's a really good trade. We'll go ahead and watch that one later. That's probably the best trade of the day. So I'll show you this and what I was looking at. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and look at this one up here. Oops. So let's see, why do I take this one? Well, and I get in at 50 even again, so right here, see there's 640 sitting there. Let me see if I can't clear up the set 1080. It's going to be a crappier quality, so I do apologize. Just with these the volatility in these markets, I have to stream at a slightly lower quality. So I'll get right behind it. Here's the problem with this. I mean, it looks like the size is just coming on. And I'm not sure how it's going to react when we get there. And this is just a typical strategy I do use in normal conditions. Now, it doesn't always just blow through it. There's certain things I'm looking for. And I was really on my game today, which is always good. So 50.25 here. And it's really flat topping up here and hesitating. See how it's really just stopping right here. Look at the absorption on the footprint. Aggressive buyers coming in, sellers absorbing. So what's good is this 306 comes on and I see it and I know there's a high probability we're going to get to it. And now the way it's kind of just floating, doing this like floating action below it, that's a good sign. It's going to blow up a little bit, but then it starts to retrace. So that's not a good sign. It should have just went. And I'm out of it. So, and I'm trying to keep this video relatively short, so I'm not going to replay it. But, I mean, look how it flags and it pulls back. I think it goes back up, but with that size, it should have went. With that size, it should have went. Give me just a second here. So let's see if it comes up. It might. Let's fast forward a little. I'm just kind of interested in, yeah, it just flags out. And then it starts to chop up. See, none of that is good. You don't want to be in any of that. So really that was a size play on that particular one. Hopefully if you watched a lot of my videos, you just don't take them. Again, that 300 that came in was a sign that it's probably going to go there. If that 300 didn't come in, I would be really quick on getting out, because sometimes you'll have a huge volume spike and then it starts to fail and falls back in. And I've talked about that a lot in some of my trading videos, where if you ever see a volume spike on a chart, that usually means the end of a trend. So like this, for instance, notice how it just goes up. A huge volume spike could represent the end of a trend. Not in this particular case. Let's get into the next one here. which is this short. Why do I take that particular short? So I get in at 52 even on this particular one. I think, so if you look at it, this is where all that flagging and chopping was going on. So I get in at 52 even here. And I marked it as a point of control. So that is exactly why. This has nothing to do with size. So anything you're seeing on here, you can't see the profile again. It resets. The profile is really a huge influencer for a lot of my trades. So this is a point of control. We have a bounce off of it. Again, there's a lot of absorption on 52 because of over here. But we have a bounce off of it. And for me, that's a sign this thing's going to possibly go. And I always get in front of it. I don't want to, because it might bounce to the tick off the 52 like it did there. And I don't want to get filled and get that little pushback on me. So that's why I am right below it. It does push against me a little bit, covering it. Not really liking that. 140 coming on in is a little scary because sometimes the market wants to come up and take that out. But that's sort of a pivot right there, and it's a smaller pivot. And also the reason I took it was because of the price action up here, the absorbing, and just really the sideways action that was happening up here. It just made sense this short was going to work. So I'm taking a lot of clues from what's going on up here, which actually was this top up here. And you can really feel a top out at times. So it made sense that this would happen. So I get out of the trade there. Let's maybe watch some of it. So if you look, you know, you had size up here and it blew through, and it started to put in these lower highs. And just how sideways and choppy this is, and just how overextended the move was in general. When you look at the 1 minute, again, this is a 1 minute and this is a 1 second. So you can kind of see. And there it starts to go right there. Nice little pivot, and I believe, do I mark the point of control here? You can see, and just the way it's cascading down. Yeah, 52 even is a point of control. I might come in and mark it. I know it is. It just makes sense that it's going to go through because all that up there was just really a topping. The way it traded, it just looked like a top with the absorption and the way everything was fighting. And if you look, and that's the trade we just watched. Got a lot of absorption here. Quite a bit right there. Just the footprint's pretty bulky. I mean, I wasn't really taking that in consideration, more so just the way it was trading up here. We'll go ahead and look at the next trade, which is this one here. This might be a pivot play. Let's see. I get in at 39.75 on this particular one. 39.75. It's a long. So again, I'm showing you this 1 minute. Some of it doesn't make sense because you can't see the profile. Some of the pivots I do take off based off the 1 minute, but it's nothing like it was in the previous video I was mentioning at the beginning of this video. So again, I'm going long at 39.75, which is pretty much way up there Now, what time? 1900 or 1319. So right around here. Again, that's going to be at 39.75. Some nice size that just kind of came out of nowhere right here. So it looked like I went for something, but I canceled right there. So I go for this where this size is. Now, the reason I kind of go for this particular trade, it looked like I was trying to go for this pivot right here. Yeah. And I marked it as a pivot. Cancel it because I didn't like that slight pullback right there. The thing is, this is coming up with quite a bit of velocity, and it's only 170 right here. So I decide to get in, actually right the fuck on it. Usually, again, I try to get behind it. I don't think that one even goes against me. Get out of it relatively quickly for a little scalp. I just don't like that. Of course, it's going to run up a little bit more. I'm not sure where it goes from this point. See? Falls back in. Good thing I took it. Again, that was a size trade. It just kind of made sense, and we were coming out of that pivot zone, which that is at 1616. So if we look at this, it's this sort of pivot is where we're sort of breaking. So it kind of made sense, but instead of getting in at the pivot zone exactly, which is down here, I decided, and there's another pivot up there from somewhere else. I decided to get in where the size is because I didn't want to take a scalp from the pivot zone to the size. I want to get on the size because, I mean, from here to there, it's not much of anything. And I didn't really take much of anything out of it. But we're going to go ahead and see this trade, which was the best trade, which yielded $800 right here. And I do want to explain a few things in it. So that is going to be at 242. Give me just a second. I'm just trying to find it. Okay, and I want to pull something up and show you. You just gotta have to give me a quick second to pull it up. Okay. Where is it? Yes. Okay, what am I looking for in this particular trade? So I'll show you the trade. Again, I get short at 27 even. Which is quite a ways down there, actually. $43. Oh, we got to go a minute. Okay, here's right before the entry. So we had put in a prior pivot. What time is that? 39. 239. Just give me a second here. I'm looking. I want to see where that is. Ooh, that's way up there. You know what it is? Do I get in right here? Oh, this is actually at a different price, $36.75. Here we go. So I don't get in where I was showing you. Sorry about that. I get in right here. This so I get in on this bar, this long red, the first long red bar. So it puts in this pivot here. And there's a lot of things that is going on. And this is kind of where order flow is important. So let me show you. Ah, shit. Okay. So again, that 50 level, it's right here where the white bar is horizontally. There was a lot of selling, a lot of large size coming on there, and buyers were aggressively trying to get through it. They were very aggressively trying to get through it. And, you know, they get pushed back, they come back for it again, and then they get pushed back. And then we put in this low here on this red bar. And we start to come back, and if you look at this, this is the 1 second chart. So that red bar, this circle here, is this the bottom of this red bar here. And this shit right up here is where this green and this red bar are right here. Okay? This is why I like 1 second. So we put in this low, and then we come up here and we start to wind up. It's like a spring, and then it blows out, and then it pivots back up. And then it comes to this sort of center line, this sort of point and control area right here. And then it bounces off immediately, and then it comes back down. And it starts to tighten up here. And after seeing all this selling and absorbing happening at this 50 and seeing all the size and just the way the market has been aggressively trying to get through it, it looked like this was a no-brainer to me. It looked like once we get here, it's just going to fall down. And that's exactly what it does. Again, it's this pivot here, and then we put this in, and in theory, it should have got through here. In theory, it should have got through here. Because I'm looking at a complex pattern I can't really explain. It just kind of makes sense watching it, watching the order flow, and just putting it all together. Kind of reviewing it is a little hazy in a sense, because in the moment I'm living tick by tick. So that's all creating a storyline for me. This right here, again, this is that hardcore pivot. It's a good pivot too. Again, you got this spring, this wind up. It blows out, and then it puts in a higher high. I expected that. But when it came up here and it hard bounced back down and started to tighten up like this, I'm like, the buyers, if the buyers are aggressive enough, we're getting close to close. It's less than 20 minutes. It's like 16 minutes till close right here. And I figured we would close up in the higher and we would get higher highs and we would get through the 50. I figured the buyers have been so aggressive for the last 2 days, surely we can get through the 50. And then I'm starting to see the buyers fail really badly. For one, here, they fail again, and then they fail again. And it just made sense to short this pivot. And again, it's near the end of the day. So these pivot blowout trades are a little more valid at this point because volume's really starting to flow in. You're getting a lot more volume flowing in. So like that COVID video, which is my last video, that strategy is starting to become valid again. So let's just rewind it a little bit. Also, it's actually out of point of control too. I'm changing my scroll wheel sensitivity at this point. So pardon that shit. And then I see this, I'm like, ooh, shit, I gotta get the fuck in it. It's a point of control. It's a pivot off a point of control. So not only does it just make sense to go short here, but it's also an essential pivot at a very important point of control level. Now, I know it doesn't look like that on this particular profile, but when I'm looking at my, for some reason, Jigsaw is not populating all the data I need. Sierra Charts is a little more accurate, so I'm getting the point of control off Sierra Charts and plotting it on here. So it just makes sense. It's gonna go right here. And then you have some nice size come in and shove the move down. You got this 35 just sitting here, like, or this size that was just sitting here, looked like a little bit pulled off. Let's see what's on 35. Again, right here. Let's see what's down here where this blue box is. 120. So watch this. It starts to pull off. And just having size that wasn't there for that long and not being that significant, it made sense that was going to happen. It made sense it would go to this 244, so that's kind of a target. As you can see, I'm trying to queue up on that. Boom, there it is, but then it keeps going. Oh, well. That was the best scalp for me for the day, and it was worth 800 bucks. And the only one against me went in my favor, 16. So let's show you one more trade later in the day. Much later. Well, not that much later from that point. This is 8 minutes before close where things... Now, see how fast shit is moving? This is when those pivot trades tend to work a little more. So this particular trade, I'm not sure when I get in on it. 42. Give me just a moment. Let me see which one this is. There's 53. Okay. Looks like it doesn't go against me. It goes in my favor, 16. And I get short at... I go long at 64.25. So exactly in 1 minute. So I'm just looking at overall patterns and stuff that's happening, because there is a pattern to this. I figure 73 is a good one. Wait, do I go along 73? I want to go along 73, but this might be a fade. It should be coming up. $64.75, and it should be coming up any second now. Oh, 64.25. So right here's where I go long. This size, that 116. Again, it's the end of the day, so people are trying to liquidate. And what's also nice is it puts in a slightly lower low, and it's not going anywhere. It's not getting any lower than this. So this is what I would call a top tick turnover. And usually it'll zip up, and then you got the combination of the size sitting here. It just makes sense it's going to blow through relatively quickly. There it goes. And I get out somewhere in there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And you get a better understanding that this is sort of more normal market trading. It's different. It's thin with a transitional phase into normal type trading. So I just wanted to put this out there so you guys don't try my pivot plays and wonder why you're getting burnt on them. They work better in this environment. Like, see this pivot here, you get short, it would just work out, but you got to be real quick on those. Not every pivot works. You have to look at specific pivots. But more often than not, they do work if you know what you're looking for. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one.